Hey guys, it's Nick, back with Nick's Topics, and finally, after a few weeks, we are back with the next topic video. Now, unfortunately, the What If Dale Survived topic is going to be put off, probably for good, unless I maybe want to come back to it in the future, but I come up with two good topics. I think they're just going to be one-parters, but it should be good nonetheless. It's just taking me a bit to think it through. I've had a lot going on in my personal life, but I see this channel's been getting a good bit of love, so without further ado, let's get into the topic, and that is, what if Shane killed Rick? Now, for anyone who hasn't subscribed or liked any of my What If Rick Didn't Kill Shane videos, I said for that series that I would come back to it after season 11 ended. But that series has gotten quite a bit of love, especially part 1, so I thought I'd flip the script of the original series. So for this What If, it is not going to be Rick killing Shane or sparing him like in my series. We'll see what happens if Shane killed Rick in the series. So, without further ado, let us get into it. So, we start off where Rick and Shane are out in the middle of the field after Shane stages the whole Randall thing. Shane keeps pushing and pushing Rick. Rick tries to persuade Shane, like he did in the original before he knifed him, to just go back to Lori and Carl and put this all behind them. But instead of listening before Rick was planning on stabbing him, Shane actually goes through with what he wanted and kills Rick. So Rick is no longer part of this series, which would change a lot, like a lot. The shots attract the zombie herd, walker herd, to the farm like the original, and Carl is the nearest to the incident. He sees Shane over Rick's dead body and starts to question the matter. Shane sees the horde, and him and Carl and the entire group get to the little clearing that the original group did in the original. Shane tells the group about Rick's death and that he was killed by zombies and he had to shoot him to keep him from coming back. Lori, like she was with Rick in the original, is obviously a little bit sad and angry with Shane because she just got to see her husband again after thinking he was dead, and now he's actually dead for real. Daryl would be heavily suspicious because he knew Shane killed Randall, but him and the group would still go along with it. Now, for this series, I do not think that Shane or the group would bother going to the prison because I think that Shane would find it too dangerous. So the prisoners there would likely just end up dying. Now, for the sake of this What If, I think that the group would go to Woodbury. Because, with my What If Rick Didn't Kill Shane thing, Shane went off to Woodbury. So this time, it would be pretty safe to assume that that would be where they would all go. Once there, the group would find Andrea with Michonne, and the two would explain their travels, and Merle would be there, which would definitely surprise the group, and Daryl and Merle would be together again as brothers, which would be nice. They'd see the governor and meet him, who's still two-eyed, by the way. Now, with Lori at Woodbury, I think that she would live and Judith would be born safely. And I also think that T-Dog would live longer too, because they're in a safer location. Glenn and Maggie would still have a strong relationship, like the original, and Daryl and Merle would likely be alone most of the time going on runs. And all would be well, mostly. But, like the original, Michonne would detect that Woodbury and the governor ain't what they seem. And I also think that Shane would be on the same idea in this case. Now, see, the thing is, with my other story, Shane and the governor actually teamed up. But you see, Shane was more in that story, like he wanted to get back at Rick. Like in that point in my other story, what if Rick didn't kill Shane? You know what I'm talking about. And he was more like, he just wanted to get revenge on Rick. He didn't care about anything of staying in Woodbury or anything. So that never got found out in that story. But you see, the thing with this story is that he would be the leader of a group, and they'd be actually staying there. Shane and Michonne would eventually find the head and Penny, the governor's daughter, and kill her. This would set the governor off, and him and Shane would get into an epic fist fight, and Michonne delivering the final blow, like she did in the original series. So the governor would be dead. Shane would be the leader of Woodbury, and he would expose the governor for what he truly was and why him and Michonne had to do what they did. I also think that him and Lori would hook up, like, actually, and they'd probably get married, and Shane would be the father of Judith and Carl. Now for Abraham, Rosita, and Eugene, I think it'd be safe to say that they probably wouldn't meet with the group. But for the sake of this story, let's say that Eugene purposely crashed or stalled the vehicle, and they would eventually run into the people at Woodbury. So the three of them would then be part of the group. And I also think that Sasha and Tyrese would still be part of the group too. Now, unfortunately, there'd be no one to save Father Gabriel because the group would be safe in Woodbury. So he would unfortunately die. So, sucks for him. Now, as for the claimers and, like, Terminus and stuff like that, I would have to assume that the claimers would either keep to themselves, meet up with Negan, or be killed by the cannibals. Now, as for what could happen to the cannibals, I would think that the claimers might have an edge over the cannibals in a regard, but hey, this is just a what if. Anything could happen. Now, on to the main focus. The group in Woodbury would be safe and happy until a group of saviors eventually comes into Woodbury and asks for everybody, or demands for everyone to surrender. Shane would then start a fight, obviously, and kill all the saviors except one and interrogate him into telling him where his leader, Negan, is. Afterwards, the group would then start attacking the satellite outposts like the original group did in the original series until they would be lined up like the original group was and meet up with Negan. Yeah, that time in the story already. Abraham, I think, would still be killed. Negan would taunt Rosita and cause Daryl to punch him. Now, I think since Merle was killed in my other story, because, you know, he's Daryl's brother, he would cause him to not retaliate anymore, Merle would still die here. And Shane, since he's the leader of the group, he'd still live. Because Negan would basically want him to break. And Shane would probably retaliate, causing Negan to threaten to or even actually hurt Carl, causing Shane to just break. He wouldn't even be able to do anything. Negan would then say all of his, or some of his men, would be at Woodbury to collect supplies. Afterwards, I think the group would run into Jesus, and he would agree to help Shane, and he would tell him about the Hilltop, and the Kingdom. Those would be relevant in the story. I think also, in that point, Sasha and Rosita would still do their thing to try and avenge Abraham, blah, blah, blah. Sasha would sacrifice herself for Rosita, and we still have Dwight as a character, and I think that him and Rosita would meet and go back to Woodbury, and they would find out that Dwight also wants Negan dead too. Now, Shane and Tyrese, I think, wouldn't take it lightly, but still would go with it for the greater good. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that, similar to my other Shane-related what if, Glenn would actually live past the Savior arc too. Now, at this point in the story, Negan and all of his men would come along to Woodbury, bringing Daryl and Sasha, and he already knows about Dwight and all that scheming, what Shane did and everything. And similar to the original, he would tell Arat to kill somebody, and the victim would be Tyrese, starting a war between Shane and the group of Woodbury and the Saviors. And I think that Shane would most likely kill Negan. If he were still around and like the leader of his group and everything, he would definitely probably win the fight. So Negan is out of the story. After the fight with the Saviors, I think that Shane would finally relocate and the group would go to Alexandria and live out their days peacefully. But eventually the threat with the Whisperers and Alpha would come, and at this point, if Shane were somehow, some way still alive, even if he had survived like in my other what if, he would have likely gotten people killed if he was around Alpha, because Alpha did not play games. So I'm afraid that the group, everyone would most likely die. So the Whisperers would still be going around, and yeah, that's pretty much where the story would end for our group. Kind of a happy ending, just not really at the end for Shane and everybody else. And there you have it, guys. That's the what if. Like I said, it's a far cry from my what if Rick didn't kill Shane series, because it actually showed the aspect of what it would be like if Shane had actually gone through with what he wanted and not stopped to listen to Rick and actually like just boom, did it. The group would be different, the events would be different, the story would be different, everything would be different. But I still think that it would be kind of a bad ending for our heroes of the show. But it still does good on one thing, actually giving Shane what he wanted. To actually be with Lori, to actually be the man of the group that he wanted to be. So, it's still a good story in some ways, just not like the ending, you know? But anyway, guys, that's gonna do it for this story. Now, what did you guys think about this? Do you think that these events could have happened the way I transcribed them? What do you think could have happened? Leave a comment down below, and I will be definitely getting the next topic out without a preview next week. But I can't tell you like exactly what I'm gonna do yet. It would ruin the surprise. But it's another what if regarding someone surviving. So I'll see you guys tomorrow on my What If channel. I'll be back on the normal schedule of videos again. No more stalling. Just had a lot going on. But anyway, guys, see you later.